I joined Billy's Patreon because there truly is no one like him. He and the work that he is doing is unique. It really feels like there are very few people out there that are working on sex positivity in general, let alone a man who is doing it. And especially in a non-creepy, really awesome, open, and emotionally vulnerable way. It feels very fresh and very new. And as a woman, it doesn't feel weird and creepy to listen to it, which, again, it's just so refreshing. And I want to support Billy and make sure that, he is able to continue this work. So thank you, Billy, and congratulations.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all the clit cleaners, ball washers, and sex toy sanitizers. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. I hope you're all washing your goddamn hands, everybody. Nothing like a global pandemic to remind us all about basic hygienic principles. How you doing? Welcome to the show if you're new. Welcome back if you're not. Hope you're feeling well. And if you're not feeling well, stay the fuck away from people. I don't know. I'm not freaking out too much about this whole thing. If anything, it's more of an inconvenience, at least for me. But still trying to be smart, where smart makes sense. Like on Saturday, I skipped the sex party. I skipped Hacienda. I think that was a good move because you know what? Let's remember what Jefferson taught us. There's always another sex party, right? There's always another bukkake. You can go to the next one when all this shit dies down a bit. I am proud of my Hacienda peeps. They have canceled all upcoming events of over 50 people. I think that's wise and responsible, and I hope play party communities around the country and the world are considering similar measures. As my lovely girlfriend says, let's stick to the holes we know for now, I do want to take this opportunity, and I'm not going to go into a rant on COVID-19, on the coronavirus or anything. I do want to say I would like to advocate, by the way, if you're for new connections, new Tinder dates, FetLife dates, Bumble dates, whatever. If one of you's feeling under the weather, meaning has a fever or is approaching a fever and has a chest cough, something respiratory, all right, don't be selfish and be like, I don't want to cancel the connection. The chemistry's great. I don't want us to lose that, waiting 2 weeks for everything to settle down. Instead, may I advocate for keep your date and change it to a phone date. I want to advocate to bring back phone dates. Phone dates are great. You ever just talk to a new person on the phone for an hour? It's fucking wonderful. A lot of times you might schedule a first date and you might block out 2 to 3 hours, maybe longer if the date goes really well and gets all fun and sexual, right? Phone dates can be about an hour, hour and a half. They're super engaged. They're super cute. You have those giggly silences, when it's going well, but neither of you knows quite what to say, but you're just happy to be on the phone, somewhat connected to each other. Let's bring back phone dates, people. If you're slightly feeling under the weather, don't cancel, but don't show up. Instead, say, hey, I don't know how I'm feeling right now. Well, it's Corona shit. I don't want to put you at risk. Let's do a phone date. Not only do you get to keep your date, you sound responsible, which is sexy in the process. So that's all I'm going to throw out there. We got a good show this week, everybody. I've got on the co-host of the Shameless Sex podcast, April Lampert. She is also a VP over at Hot Octopus, which is a sex toy company that has male sex toys. And I cannot wait to share her with y'all in a bit. But first, show dates, people, show dates. At least the show dates that have yet to be canceled. It's not, well, I'm not doing South by Southwest or anything here. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yes, they did not. I'm still coming to a comedy festival despite all of this shit because I need to be on a stage and have people pay attention to me for 5 to 30 minutes at a time. Grand Rapids, Michigan. I got one more show at Laugh Fest tomorrow, March 12th at Dr. Grin's, 9 p.m. Lebanon, New Jersey, March 25th. I'm emceeing a show. There's going to be a band, and then former guest of the show, Madeline Smith. She's going to be doing a set. I'll be emceeing. I know this sounds weird, but if you want to come, email me for the address because I don't know the name of the venue, but I have an address. It's weird. Williamsburg, Virginia, March 27th. I'm at Revolution Golf and Grill. Cincinnati, Ohio, April 17th, I'm at The Hub. And Leesburg, Indiana, April 18th, I'll be at Tippy Creek Winery, featuring over there. Of course, the most important show dates of them all, and I believe I said this last week, I'll remind you again, ManwhoreCon. Look, it's not till August. We got time. I'm not canceling it anytime soon. But we did move the dates to March 20th to 23rd. So start blocking that out, checking your paid time off of work there. We're going to have a fun-ass Whorehead weekend here in New York City, in Brooklyn. And weekend passes are going to go on sale on Friday, April 3rd at noon Eastern time. Put that in your calendar because the sooner you get your weekend pass, the cheaper it'll be. And I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. And if you don't want to miss your opportunity to get more affordable weekend passes to ManwhoreCon, make sure you are on the mailing list, which you can get on over at manwhorepod.com. But also, go check your spam folder or your promotion folder or whatever. Go find my newsletter, search Manwhore Podcast in there, open it, move them to your primary, mark them not as spam. That way you don't miss any important Manwhore Podcast news. Oh boy, that was a lot of businessy stuff, everybody. I want to read some emails. Haven't read your emails in a while, or at least like a few of them. So I want to read some right now. The first one comes from Nicholas. Nicholas, he asks, your first group experience, what was it and mentally how did you approach it? Were you all about it and super excited or nervous as fuck? I believe the kids call it AF these days. My first group sex experience, I don't know if we count it as such, but actually technically my first one was a failed gangbang. Members of my Patreon community who listen to the bonus episodes, you'll recall that the first thing I did in a group, the first time I was naked around other men, or at least, multiple men will say, was a gangbang where we were supposed to be jerking off, watching porn together, and then she was going to walk into the apartment of this guy, and then things were going to happen. But after about an hour or so, the woman never showed up, and I was like, I'm out of here. But heading over to this failed gangbang, I was definitely nervous and excited because, again, I'd never been around men naked before. Like, even in high school, the showers were single stall. You know what I mean? So I was nervous, but I was also super excited. Like, I was allegedly gonna fuck this hot MILF. Like, that was gonna be hot. There was a role play involved. There was a whole script to the thing. And as we know, I love scenes. So nervous and excited. I would say my first successful one was a bukkake, my senior year of college. And again, nervous. But nervous just because I don't know how it's going to go down because I hadn't been to one before. Excited because a hot MILF was going to be sucking my cock. So you see what I mean? The more I exposed myself to group sex, the more I exposed myself to interesting experiences, the less nervous I was for them. But don't expect to go to one or two things and just feel like you're an old pro because, I mean, they're all different, right? The first bukkake was different from my first time watching a couple fuck, which was different from my first sex party, which was different from the first time I'd been in a non-sexual nude environment, right? And each of these new experiences bring new vibes and feelings. Ultimately, I think, especially as a dude, you should show up excited to be as respectful as possible, and to keep your expectations low, as in expect to have a good time and be open-minded as to what quote unquote a good time means. Because if a good time means you have to achieve and maintain an erection and come and get her off, that's a pretty high bar. So allow yourself the lower bar of just like having a good time, whatever it is you're going to. It seems like this is you're going to something specific question. So good luck, Nick. This next one is, the subject line is just, is it inappropriate? Which I'd like to think that if you have that subject line, but luckily for this guy, it was fine. He says, "Hey Billy, it's Mo." We've interacted on the social media before. The question I was asking is, do you think it's inappropriate to offer men money for them to make a clone-a-willy for you? I ask because to me, I can be asked anything and don't really feel any bad way about it. Do you think I should ask guys or just leave it alone? Thanks for taking out the time for the advice. Well, Mo, it depends on the guy. I think that's an incredibly important question. Is the guy a sex worker or someone who regularly makes money for their sexuality? Is he a stripper or does porn or something? Because then absolutely, I think it's appropriate to ask yes. Because that's who has implicitly asked to be paid for sex stuff, even if they don't offer that particular thing. And even if they say no, it's not odd to ask them. Asking me to make a clone-a-willy is totally fine because, of what I do. And just to let people know, if you don't know already, Clone-a-willy, they're a company, they sell kits where you can make a silicone mold of a cock. They provide like a baseline vibrator that goes inside the molding, so you turn your dick into a vibrator. Now, however, Mo, asking your waiter or some random hot guy on Instagram he's just an accountant, but like he also posts his gym selfies, that would be inappropriate. Inappropriate. Do not do that. They did not invite that. Also, if you're going to approach someone for that, you should obviously offer to purchase the clone-a-willy and ship it to their home, or include it in the amount that you send them and let them order it themselves if they don't want to give you their address. And also include shipping for them to send it back, which is, like $10 for that's probably fine. And then, of course, like the amount that they want to do it. So, I read that email because I thought it was a good one to share with the masses. But what we ended up agreeing to was he was asking me to clone my willy, and I gave him a rate. And he's going to be sending me some money soon so I can order one and send him a Billy Procida custom cock vibrator, I guess. All right, this last one comes from Dave. Dave frequently asks me questions, and I do enjoy answering them for him. He sends them often, but this particular one I wanted to share. He writes, for sites like Chatterbait, why is it that models sometimes have a tendency to ask for money repeatedly? For example, sometimes I want to talk dirty to a couple on Chatterbait, and then they'll start asking me for money. The thing is that I simply want your advice on what I should do. Should I lurk more? And my advice, pretty simply, is pay them. Pay the man and or woman his money. You pay them their money. Oh, that's a terrible Malkovich accent. I am so sorry to any Rounders fans out there. Yes, you pay them. They keep asking for money because it is their job. You are watching them on a webcam, on a sex webcam site like Chatterbait. They're not doing it just for the fun of it. They may very much enjoy their job, but ultimately they want money for doing it. Otherwise, they would turn the webcam off and just fuck for themselves. If you want to talk dirty to them, tip them. That's how those sites work. And if you want to email me with your questions, your comments, your criticisms, your titty pictures, whatever, you can send all that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. I do want to pose this to y'all, and please email me. How, if at all, Is the coronavirus affecting your sex and dating life? Are you also skipping out on orgies? Are you throwing your own private stuff? Are you not taking on new partners? Are you settling down with the dating? Do you have a significant other, but maybe one of you is not feeling well? What do you do with the self-quarantining? Do you just both look at each other deeply and romantically in each other's eyes and go like, we're going to suffer this virus together, babe? And then you swap spit. I don't know. So again, please email me, manwhorepod@gmail.com. Would love to know how how the COVID-19 virus is affecting your life. All right. As you've heard last week and today and for the rest of the month of March, you're hearing at the beginning and ending of each episode, you're hearing these testimonial bumpers from members of my fan whore community on Patreon. And they're telling you why they joined up and became members on Patreon, why they support the Man Whore podcast, why they enjoy being a part of the community, why they enjoy nearly 200 bonus episodes of this show on Patreon. And I just want to say my patrons fucking rock. Like, it's so cool. Like, you know, I know I talk about the Peep Show often, and I think I talked about it last week, but you know, the Peep Show is like a cool way to just have like a built-in group chat of like 70 new friends, and we all just like to compliment each other and give each other words of support and show off each other's bodies. You know, like, it's a pretty fun group to be in. I interact with a lot of them one-on-one in my DMs and emails. I mean, I interact with really anyone who DMs me, but not for nothing, I do tend to give a little bit more of my attention, a little bit more of my extra special care to the members. And it's such a cool fucking community. One of my favorite things about having the Patreon is at the $10 level, not only do you get access to the Peep Show and the bonus episodes and the Champagne Room and my private patron-only feed, but I also mail thank you letters. It's actually one of my original rewards that I've offered, was I write thank you letters with a dirty haiku every month. And I send that snail mail, not an email blast. No. This is like hand-signed little notes in the margins. It's almost like getting a little love letter from me every month. And that's one of my favorite rewards, because I feel like I'm genuinely connecting with each patron every month. Because, like, who sends fucking letters anymore? Well, I fucking do, and I love doing it. And not for nothing, you also get a Stay Slutty button at that level too. But that part's like my favorite part. Even the shout-outs, which I'm about to do in the Fan Whore Appreciation moment. I love doing the shout-outs because, like, for at least a brief moment, I've tried to research you, for a minute. I've tried to see, like, how I can make your shout-out a little bit more specific to you. Or if there's a little inside joke I can toss your way. And it's cool. It's like getting to know each of you personally. So, not only do I want to say thank you for all y'all for your memberships, both patrons current and past, but I just want to say, like, how cool it is that I'm getting to know all of you all on, like, one-on-one levels. And I just think that's a really special fucking thing. I crashed at a patron's house in Pittsburgh Monday night on my way to this comedy festival in Michigan. And, like, we just kind of hung out for an hour, chit-chatted, and then, like, I crashed on her couch. And that was really, like, who the fuck else gets to do that? What comedians do you know are so financially destitute that they tend to require a free place to stay whenever they can, but also get to connect with people one-on-one like that? I don't know. I think that's a special thing. And these are some of the special people that I want to thank for being members of the Fan Whore community. Shout out to Justin Erickson. Thanks for the testimonial last week. You can hear his smooth daddy voice at the end of last week's pod. A shout out to David. Man, those monkeys in the dungeon. Got to be careful with those, dude. Who knows? Maybe those are the monkeys in this outbreak. I don't know. That's an example of, like, an inside joke thing. If you knew what his email handle was, you'd get it. But that one's just for David. Thanks, buddy, for being a member. Shout out to Strike, who is just the sluttiest of Jedis. I bow to you, good sir. Thanks for being a member. And a big old shout out and thank you to Jess Clark. You came, you went. I hope you came in the process. I know you showed up for the Billy nudes. I hope they were to your satisfaction. Thank you for the explicit compliments. And you too can become a member and join our sex-positive fan whore community on Patreon for as little as just $2. And don't be embarrassed by the $2. Some people email me and they say, I've been thinking of doing it, but I want to wait till I can afford a big one. No. Get on board now, baby cakes. Get on board with that sweet, sweet $2. You raise it when you can. We're just happy to have you. So become a member today at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast and make a bunch of brand new like-minded friends. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And now for this week's guest, April Lampert. April Lampert, she's the co-host of the Shameless Sex podcast, which you can hear my episode of their show this week. I think it came out yesterday or today. So go check out the Shameless Sex podcast and listen to my episode. And now you're going to get to know April better. I do want to make this note. I previously thought April was a sex educator too. Her co-host on the show, Amy Baldwin, is a sex educator, and she opened a sex toy shop with her mother, which is fascinating. And later this year, you're going to hear Amy on the pod. I thought April was one too. I did not realize that April is more like on the business-to-business end of sex toy stuff. She's a vice president over at Hot Octopus, which was my first sponsor. And I feel like I missed an opportunity to ask some different types of questions. But me and April totally connected and kind of just like riffed for an hour, actually over an hour. And it was super fun. I had a blast with her. I could talk to her for hours, I'm sure. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with April Lampert.
I'm head of all the sales, and I help with product development, marketing strategies, building new clients. There's no hat that I won't wear in the company.
And was the Pulse the initial product for Octopus?
Yes.
Because I fucking loved that thing.
The Solo was our flagship item. Yeah. So you like the Pulse
I have
technology?
recommended it for years. I have always recommended that toy because I think it's the strokeless orgasm is a never talked about thing with the dick havers. And I'm just like, yo, y'all are missing out.
For real. And it can help you have multiple orgasms. Have you ever had an orgasm and then put it back on?
I have not. The only time I've done multiple orgasms is if I was watching like a JOI video where they were like, we're going to do like come and then come immediately again type of thing. Which can be like almost
What's
painful.
JOI?
JOI is a subset of porn. It stands for jack off instructional. Oh. So it's like, it's the one where she's just like telling you to stroke your cock and telling you how, or sometimes there's countdowns.
Cool.
And a subset of those, which I do not like, are ruined orgasms. So it'll be a JOI like any other JOI, and there'll be a countdown like many of them have. And then when they get to like maybe 3, they're like, actually, no, you don't get to come. And I'm like,
what?
Some people love that, right?
Okay.
They love that humiliation shit, but not for me.
So they kind of conduct this energy and then say you can't come.
Yeah.
Even if you're like super excited.
Right. Well, I mean, because
so it's almost like subordinate and dominant.
100%, which I love that dynamic, but I don't like this humiliation, you're pathetic, cucky type of stuff. So it's like, I don't want a ruined orgasm. I want you to tell me. I don't want to watch a 15-minute video and then at 14:42, it's like, actually, no. I'll be like, you son of a bitch.
You were waiting for like the moment when I can release and feel all of the amazingness.
Yeah, it's like I will release, but now I just feel like I feel awkward about it because you just told me not to.
You feel like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to do this? Wow. That's the thing so with Hot Octopus, which I thought when I moved from the company that I was with, because I haven't been in this sex toy industry now with Amy. Amy is the reason that I exist, my business partner in Shameless Sex. I
should say I am here right now with April Lampert, one of the co-hosts of the Shameless Sex podcast.
Yeah. I love your accent.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, it's a nice one.
Wait, where'd you grow up?
Wisconsin. Scanny. But I don't really say it like that. I'm like, Wisconsin, love. I love the accents. I can pick them up if I'm actually witnessing them on a regular, like if I'm in New York for a week and I'm in the different boroughs, I can do it all right. I was doing it at the Sex Expo when I met you. I was like, hey, Brooklyn, that's fun.
But like the people from Brooklyn would look at you and be like,
She's an idiot.
you can just talk like this.
I only do it for a minute. I don't go into a whole rant for sure. Same with London, where Hot Octopus is from. You can tell the different areas, like by street sometimes, where the accent is from. Right. It's really cool.
But so how'd you meet Amy? How'd you link up with her?
Amy, so right now you're on a road trip. You're in Santa Cruz. I moved to Santa Cruz from Wisconsin. Okay. I actually moved from Minnesota. I went to college there. I graduated in 2005. So it's been so many years, and moved here on a whim while I was studying for my LSATs. So
You were going to be a lawyer.
I was. Well,
so was I.
Were you?
I quit that dream at 15, but I was very much from like 5 to 15 supposed to be a lawyer.
I'm a terrible liar, so I don't know. You have to, on some level, fake it till you make it with lawyering, with being an attorney. I mean, you really do.
What was your reason to not pursue?
I started traveling. So I was starting to study for the LSATs, and I had all of this debt from getting my bachelor's degree already. And I was like, honestly, I was like, I need to take some time and just travel. And the more I traveled, I went to Asia and I went to, South America. I went all over, and I was realized that it's not as important to keep on this like trajectory of the law. Why did I really want to do that? In the first place, it was because I wanted to study environmental law and take these like big corporate bastards to, feel the pain of what they're doing to the environment.
That's way better reason than me. I just want to make Dad happy.
Oh, but that is a way that, yeah.
Then I saw Legally Blonde too. I was like, that job's not for me.
Could you do the pop? What is
the bend and snap?
Bend and snap. I always say pop, lock, and drop. That's not what it is.
Very different dance move.
Totally.
Both of them are supposed to like draw attention to the ass, but
that's why I get confused.
Very in different ways.
I'm not
and I can do both. I can do both.
Can?
I mean, like I've been told I have a booty and I can do both things. I've been learning how to draw attention to my assets.
Can you twerk?
I don't know. I probably learn. I mean, I was on the NYU step team for 3 years. I believe I can learn anything.
I've tried to watch numerous YouTube videos and learn how to twerk. Never happens for me. I cannot. I'm too white.
I don't know. Guess. I don't know how much Wisconsin gals are supposed to be twerking. So I think you're okay.
Yeah, I know. I can't line dance either. So all the people in Wisconsin are so disappointed. Anyway, I'm sorry. Tangent. This is like so easy to get on a tangent, isn't it?
It's fun, right?
I love it.
I come in with no questions, and I'm like, who knows what will happen?
I love that. I mean, when we do a podcast, so Amy and I, when I met Amy, we were waitresses, and she was 21. I was 23. Obviously, like moved to Santa Cruz from the Midwest.
Y'all been like ride or die for a while.
And we first met, and it was. She's loked out Santa Cruz, and Santa Cruz is a bubble. If your listeners don't know, it's Central California on the Monterey Bay, beautiful, beautiful town. And now it's close to the Silicon Valley. So you have a lot of tech industry, a lot of really progressive people. They do psilocybin treatments and all sorts of very out of the box Eastern medicine mixed with New Age medicine. People are not into the typical systems that are in place in a lot of areas.
I don't want to put those drugs in my body, man. They're very unnatural. I want to go to this holistic healer while I also reserve it on my iPhone.
Yeah, right?
It's very natural.
Let me just book that appointment. But Santa Cruz is like that. It's totally got this very interesting integrated society. And anyway, they don't really like outsiders that much when it comes to, I shouldn't say that, like in a way, Amy only had loked out Santa Cruz friends. Okay. So I was like this girl from Wisconsin waitressing together, and I went to this party in Santa Cruz that I got invited to, and it was like a Burning Man party because there's a lot of burners.
Okay.
Amy is one of them. And this guy like had a flogger and was like, bend over, I'm going to spank you. And I had never in my entire life been exposed to anything like that because it's so conservative where I'm from. And so I bent over, he spanked me. I was telling Amy about it 2 days later when we were working together, and she's like, what'd you do this weekend? And we had never hung out before. And I said, well, I went to this like crazy party, and this guy told me to bend over, and then he spanked me, and I like slapped my ass really hard. Everyone in the kitchen was like, brr. And
was that your first time being spanked in such a
fashion? Totally.
How?
Because I was dude, I never talked about sex then. I didn't even own a vibrator at that point in my life.
Were you having sex?
The boyfriend that I moved out to Santa Cruz with was my best friend bro. I mean, literally we were bros, and we hung out all the time. We had sex I don't remember at this time, like at this point in my life, because I'm now 37, so this was quite a while ago. Probably it was not like enough to be concerned with not having enough. So it was often, the frequency was often enough for me not to be concerned.
You weren't aware of what you were missing out on, maybe?
Right. And he was only the second man third man I'd ever slept with. I'd slept with women before that.
Good for you.
Like one or two. So Amy turned bright red though when I was telling her this story. She turned bright red. And so I was like, I offended you. And she looked at me. She's like, no, I think I love you. I was like, really? Oh my God. And we became instant friends. I'm not kidding. After that, she like got my number and we started hanging out. And I met all of the loped out Santa Cruz friends.
Story?
Yeah, she was, and I didn't understand why at the time. And then later on, she told me she's opening a sex shop with her mom in Santa Cruz. She's studying human sexuality and psychology. She's almost done. And I was like, this bitch is not for real. Like, she's waitressing and she said she's going to open a sex shop in Santa Cruz. I doubt it. But I was like, yeah. And she's like, I want you to work there. And I was like, I don't even own a vibrator. She's like, we're going to change it. She gave me my first vibrator. And lo and behold, 2008, her and her mom opened Pure Pleasure, which was just sold this year, we're in 2020, it was last year. So November of last year it sold. And to Good Vibrations, which was why they basically birthed the store in Santa Cruz.
Good Vibrations is on a buying spree. They just bought Babeland too.
Yeah. Well, they bought Babeland like 3 years ago.
Okay. But yeah. Just, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not because the owner of Good Vibrations is an awesome human, and it's not because he's some greedy corporate asshole. He's really into withholding the sex positivity, keeping the sex positivity in California or Seattle, wherever, New York, where Babeland stores are, and not having big corporate entities take over, which has happened with other chain stores. So he's awesome. He's into like very communal vibes, if you will, in a non-hippie kind of way. He's an old school dude. He's been in the industry since he was, I think he's in his 20s, and he's 70.
Jeez. Okay.
Joel, yeah.
And so you go to work at the sex toy shop, and you're like, is your world just fucking changing? Like, what you're being, or just even hanging out with Amy? It sounds like you'd be exposed to new things.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was so interesting how I had to talk to people about orgasms. I had to talk to people about their relationships. What
was like the training like? Because like it's not like you were
that's a good question,
a well-versed person.
No, I was
you were getting your first vibrator. What was the first vibrator?
So the Leia Spot by Fun Factory, which is weird because I worked with Fun Factory for 7 years. They were the first manufacturer I worked with.
I like their shake weight vibrator.
Oh yeah,
that's a fun one.
I was part of the development crew for that. That was part of my idea.
I won
the B-balls.
I won it at a raffle and upset a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, I was at this sex worker fundraiser thing at the Museum of Sex 2 years ago, and put my name in like some of the raffle stuff for some of the toys. And the first time, like, they're announcing something for like vibrating anal beads from B-Vibe, and I won it. So, and everyone's like clapping because they see like a guy, and because I was like one of the only people with this face like there, and they're like, "Oh, good for him, guy, butt stuff." Like, yay! What? I'm like, okay, thanks. I'm trying to make it through this crowded because I'm on the.
And you identify as heterosexual?
I'm a straight guy, but
okay.
Oh man, but yeah, the prostate, it's not a switch that turns you gay. It's just a button that makes sex awesome.
It's so true. It's so true.
So like I'm on the far side of this thing, trying to work my way through a crowd to pick up my thing. And as they're doing the next item. Next item's the Fun Factory bag, and in that bag is the shake. I forget what they call it, but it's like a shake.
Oh, the bounce. Was it a dildo with three?
It's a vibrator that, like, if you held it, it would feel like a shake weight.
It's a Stronic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I totally. Which one was it? The one with the ridges?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. It's just the idea is if you held it, it pulsates. It like kind of goes in and out without actually moving in and out of a thing.
It's the Stronic.
Yeah, that
totally.
So they read the number for that, and it turns out I had that ticket too. Now all this excitement, like, go him, Gwenta, fuck this guy.
Have you used that product?
Not on myself, but I ended up gifting it to a partner friend of mine.
It's a pretty cool product.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, very fun. I just like.
It's like the.
I didn't think it would. I think it was a little too big for me to be comfortable.
Was it the
it was a little too thick.
Product with where it had the base so you could use it anally, where it was like the curved up?
No, it was like a normal one. But like, I mean, I trust myself without the flared base. I know you're supposed to use a flared base or a curve, but like, I know how to not get it lost up there.
Well,
I mean, I'll put that toy was never going to get all the way in anyway.
Because that's quite large and there's like the ridges and it's true.
Yeah.
It's like if you have like the massive, I've been anal fisted for 2 hours, then you can kind of get the thing sucked in. It is good to always have a flared base though, just in case you're not being super conscientious about what's going.
I've shifted the butt plug that I use because the flare base is too small, and now I do get nervous. I'm going to suck it all in. But I just, and a lot of people don't, especially dudes, don't realize that it's like you can lengthwise take a lot. It's just a matter of like the diameter of the fucking thing. You want to go outside, buddy?
My dog is being.
I won't let you bite my finger anymore. And you
I know. Sorry, he was biting you.
I didn't mind. I was like, I don't mind him biting a little bit.
I do.
You want to let him out, or do you want to let him pout
he's gonna
there?
go. He's gonna do the back and forth thing.
Doesn't bother me.
Well, we'll just leave him be.
Okay.
Just if he bites you, I'm gonna be like, mad. No biting. Okay. Do you want to go? If you want to go out, you're not coming back in. You want to go out?
We want an answer. Can you? Just
he's like, you have a toy? Here, just so sorry about that.
It's okay. There you go.
Bigger than him. So it
was just too thick for me. So I was like, it's never gonna. But a lot of guys, I think if it's long, they're intimidated. It's like, no, you want to worry about girth because like once it's in, like you'll be fine how deep it goes. But it's like, for me, it's a matter of like how wide a toy is.
Speaking of the girth and the length and people, what they think, I would love for someone out there to create a story or like for educational purposes or like a picture book of different things that get stuck in people's butts that are necessarily unsafe, but from the ER. So some doctor or nurse out there, because I've heard so many stories about the things that people put in their butts. Like it's unreal.
It's unreal that I never lost anything in my butt growing up.
It is.
I used Sharpie markers quite often.
What?
Because they were smooth. Like they had a smooth texture.
Like a candlestick. I've heard of people like
I've not tried the candlestick thing. I know that's like a thing where you stick candlestick in, then you light it, and then you like go, ooh, but wasn't for me.
I've never lit it. I only started getting into anal play recently.
Have you put candlesticks in your butt?
No.
Okay.
No. I haven't put that many weird things in my butt. I didn't have anal sex until 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was like never, not that I was opposed, it just never was, and I sold more butt plugs in Pure Pleasure than anyone else.
So then what was the impetus to try anal?
It was because my ex-husband, I've been married before and I was divorced like in 2016. We got a divorce.
Okay. So this one's like is like about like a few years. 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, right around there. Cool. He's like fairly newer partner. And my ex-husband just wasn't like, he always was into it and interested, but wasn't into kind of the preparation. It was like easier for him when he was like aroused to just go to the vaginal situation because it takes so much time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes folks like that they're excited and they're like, they want they're like, ready. Oh my God, let's do this. And so it was just like on the table.
He's like,
but
I'm
never.
hard. Wait, I don't want to have to start doing all the stuff to get your butt ready because my dick's already ready. I don't want to lose the dick readiness. So the ex-husband wasn't interested in doing the prep work for anal, but were you always kind of wanting to
Totally.
do it?
I had a kit. I traveled with a kit after my relationship dissipated with my now ex-husband, I had like a little anal kit and I was like, okay, at some point, which consisted of lube, a butt plug, and this really cute, I got them from this Parisian lingerie designer that I met at this event that I did with Fun Factory, and it was a thong underwear, but that went into a bow that you like tied. So I thought it would be really cool, and I was like, I'm always going to be prepared. And there was a vibrator in there as well, and it was like a little kit, and I carried it around for I think like a year. It was totally, and I was like, I want to be prepped and ready for this. And butt plugs, as we know, you do need to wear for a little while. So I think my intention there was just like if there was a person that I met, I would have the kit accessible, and it wasn't necessarily always in my wheelhouse of needing to put in a plug because I was going to get ready. So it just I really wanted to experience anal sex. And actually, when I first started recording Shameless Sex, we did an anal 101 episode. I think it in 2017, maybe August for Anal August or July. And Amy was going through all the steps. And in the episode, and I haven't listened to it in so long, I can't remember, but I was listening and taking notes and knowing that eventually I would lose my anal virginity. And so I listened and had a very pleasurable first experience with my anal virginity, which I hate saying like virginity, now, like I lost something. But
when you brought it up with the partner, like he was just gung ho, like deaf.
He is completely like open and fluid when it comes to what people, folks are into that he's like having these experiences with. So if I wasn't into anal, he would be like, okay, no worries. And since I was so curious about anal, and he's 51, so he's had a lot of partners.
He's done some anal in his day.
He's definitely done some anal, dude, for sure. He was well rehearsed and he was good about the patience. He's been doing anal
since Boy Meets World was on air. No.
Totally, probably. When was that? 92?
That was late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. That was Bobby.
You know me.
The name of the right Bobby and what was the other girl? Topanga.
Corey and Topanga.
Oh, Corey and Topanga. I was thinking of Bobby's World.
Bobby's World.
Wasn't that a show too? But around the same time on Nickelodeon.
Okay, I trust you.
Okay. God, I hope I'm not totally off base.
Do you remember the redhead from Boy Meets World in the college years? She does porn now. Actually, y'all share a publicist.
It's like Jessie Spano.
Maitland Ward. She's like a new to porn person, but she used to be like a regular on Boy Meets World. And
no way.
Yeah, that's
well, good for her. Hopefully, she's making money in porn because that's hard to do these days.
I heard she is now the #1 chick on OnlyFans, so I think she's doing okay.
That's awesome. Well, congrats, kids. That's why I support the cam industry. There's all these cam sites and I think it's important for people if they are using technology and making porn or using the cam, webcams, and people are paying them and it feels good to them and there's no physical exchange. Awesome. Yeah. If you're making money, it feels good to you. I've actually tried to tell a few of my friends that were stressed about cash. I was like, have you ever considered the cam industry?
But at the same time, it's not nearly as easy as everyone thinks because you have to build a presence. You got to start a Twitter for it. You got to...
You don't have to. There are ways you don't have to.
I mean, technically no one has to, but just what I hear from all the girls I've talked to seems to be the best way to, if you're trying to retain customers and get people in, and I don't know. It all seems... I
don't know a lot about it, so you're probably totally 100% right. You could do your code names, right? You can have your code.
Just the idea of having, some people think they're just going to make an account and start and they're just going to get customers. But I think they don't realize that a lot of it is about fans being into the actual person, just like podcasts and just honestly, a lot of the entertainment now, it's a lot of people are getting really into the person and then they love the content that person makes.
So they become a fan.
Right. So
just like podcasts, you're right. Totally.
Yeah. So, but with Cam Girl, if you're just if there's nowhere to find you and start getting into Ashley's eating salad today, then it's
here's Ashley's feet.
I'd rather go. I don't want to see anyone masturbate on webcam unless I've seen what they ate for lunch. I don't know.
Did you watch Euphoria? Speaking of the cam,
I have not yet. I will get to. It's been I've been on the road.
Okay. Well, when you're taking moments, it's a heavy show, and for your listeners out there, it has a lot of drugs. So if you're in treatment or sober or anything, it can be triggering. I think it's a lot of sex, I hear
it's a very sexual show.
It's so
and
sexual.
So obviously, I'm I will watch that show.
But with teenagers, it's obviously my partner, as I mentioned. I don't know if we were recording then, but he has a 15-year-old daughter, and
that age range.
The protagonist in that show is about 15. I think she is 15, and it's so interesting because it's is this how fucking good stuff is? Is this how? And I've asked her. I was
the kids are doing?
Is this what the kids are doing? Oh my God.
And then you think did I just ask the question? Is this what the kids are doing? Fuck.
And when you watch it, there is this whole episode or two maybe about camming. And I'm not going to spoil anything. There's no spoiler alerts. I just wanted to know because we were talking about the cam industry and that I think it sheds perfect light on how it is.
So how'd you go from getting your first vibrator, a Fun Factory joint at in your early 20s with Amy working at in her mom's sex toy shop to being a sex educator with a popular sex podcast?
Man.
So first you learned how to use a vibrator.
I learned how to use a vibrator. And then after I actually use a vibrator, I thought to myself, holy shit, I cannot believe I've gone 23 years. So I've been an avid masturbator since I was, I think 5, maybe 6 at the latest. It was 6.
Pillow humper?
The pillow humper. I had a teddy bear that I used to hump named Barry.
I've heard about a lot of teddy bears getting
Dude,
molested.
it had like this really round nose. I didn't even understand, obviously, what I was doing. It felt good. And but I understood that I shouldn't do it in front of anyone. Like I did understand that. And I had a brother who I knew was doing something because I'd find like the JCPenney catalog under his bed open to like the bra section. And when I was like,
also, what are you doing under his bed?
Because I would have to chores like vacuuming. Okay. So I'd be vacuuming and then I'd be like, what is that? Like suck up a page. Tissues? And then I'd like be like, oh, I never found tissues.
Socks, really crusty socks.
But I never touched the socks. So I knew kind of that there was this hidden secret about pleasure. And so my mom had a Kama Sutra book under her bed that I found. Same vacuuming. I used to have a lot of chores.
You weren't void of sexuality. You were just, it was very a private.
It was private and not talked about.
Yeah.
I remember when I had sex for the first time, Amy and I always talk about how it's not losing your virginity. It's when you chose to have sex for the first time, if that was consented by yourself.
Harley calls it that I love is, I think she coined it, maybe I'm wrong, but making your sexual debut.
Which is great.
Which I love.
Yeah.
That's so much cooler.
It's like, ta-da, here I am.
Here I am.
Yes. Hey, you take me. Which it is a big deal. Yeah. And at least for me, and I was 16, almost 17, and I did not tell my mom anything. And I was with a college guy. And I remember there was a certain point where I needed birth control. And I went and got it on my own at Planned Parenthood. And she didn't find out until like a year later that I was on birth control. And I was a teenager. I'm like, what were you? Now in my 30s, I'm just so fascinated by her thought process. When I had a college boyfriend, she never checked in about birth control. And when I asked her about it, she was like, yes, I did. I was like, no, Mom, this was after I literally was like going through like trouble with him because he was in college and crying. And you were like, well, maybe you should break up. And I was like, but I'm on birth control and I love him. So, and she was like, you are? That's how it got brought up. So, coming back to why Amy and this whole thing and how I got to where I am today.
Well, I just didn't realize how reserved you were. And
totally.
So that, because Amy, said like, I'm studying human sexuality and all that stuff. And you were just like, I'm in Santa Cruz.
But I have a huge, like my mind is so open and I have a huge capacity to want to understand things. Do you start taking
courses or you reading books? Like what do you do to...
Amy had like this whole process of understanding education because she had studied human sexuality. So everything that was instructional, we were required. There were 3 of us. So it wasn't, I was the manager and she was like, instructional DVDs you have to watch. I was definitely wanting to watch all of these DVDs. Any of the books that were top sellers that were selling in the book section. And there were certain books that we were like, hey, we were invited to read. So I did.
Is this so
immersed
that you
myself.
can teach people at the shop or Amy's like, you need to learn this.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the proper, not only dialogue, the proper,
terminology,
but even the way to address folks that would come in with things that maybe I wasn't like the don't yuck people's yum thing. So that was something that I never shame people. I always thought it was so interesting to learn about people. I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Or wow, that's weird. But I'm not like, ew. I never did an ew thing. I was never like that. And I think that's what Amy sort of understood about me with the spanking, which I'd never been spanked. And she thought it was awesome that I had like embraced this thing that I had no knowledge of. And so going into the sex shop and retail, there were so many folks that would come in and just need someone to talk to and to feel like they were okay and they were normal. That was when I was working there, I felt like that was it. And so I was a bartender at the time too. So that was almost the same thing, but a more private, personal thing. Because when you're a bartender, people share things with you that you sometimes are like they're problems with their spouses or they're cheating or something bizarre and off the cuff that they don't want to tell their friends. They would tell you.
I've been told I have very inviting eyes. So like I have had since I was a child, strangers just tell me things. I'm like, I don't know why you're telling me this. I don't care.
You do have very inviting eyes.
What can I say?
So therapy is your thing, and this is helping people. So right?
Yeah. So Amy's giving you these instructionals to so that you can teach other people in the shop. But you're also like learning for the first time yourself. You're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that it's okay. And that there are things that are maybe that I'm not into that other people are into. And as long as it's consensual and it's not like bestiality where the animals can't consent, or it's not something that has to do with people fetishizing children or something that is not consenting adults, that's all great. If there are consenting humans involved, then it's a go. And after I got that into my process, I became really comfortable and actually enjoyed talking to people about sex. And it became almost like a natural life purpose that I didn't find, it found me. So,
and how long did you work at the shop?
So I worked there from 2008 until I actually went to Asia for a little while. So I was traveling and I met my ex-husband, which was in 2009, at the end of 2009. And then I moved in 2010. So it wasn't long.
Okay.
So maybe like a year and a half. And then when I was living abroad, I lived in Israel for about a year. Amy came to visit me and she was just telling me, you have to go back to the sex industry. The sex toy industry is waiting for you, because she kind of knew I wasn't going to be in Israel forever. And when I moved back, I went to a trade show with her I think it was in Las Vegas or LA. And I met the then CEO of Fun Factory. And I had planned to move back. And he had said to me, you're great. You want to work at a booth and like at the next trade show at this, I think it was like a women's expo in LA. And I said, sure. And so worked it. He loved me, and this is also not without like any. This is also without any other training more than really just what Amy's. No, because talking about sex is not easy. Yeah. And so I went to this women's expo, and this is what this CEO was there, and I was just this green human that had no experience really, other than working the floor in an adult retail store. He observed me talking to all sorts of women about Kegel balls, and there would be 65-year-old women and 18-year-old women. And it was the expo was more for hair products and vitamins. And I don't know, they probably still do it. And I sold so many Kegel balls and vibrators. And he was like, whoa, had no idea, because I just talked to people about because I had researched what the vaginal canal would do. I love research. Hello, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what you fucking do. You you page through books and books and learn about all sorts of different aspects of the law. And so I learned everything I could about what the vaginal canal did and the pelvic floor muscles and why you need Kegel balls. And he was shocked and impressed, and he wanted to hire me immediately, which he did. Then I worked another trade show because I was like, well, I'm in between.
And so what are you doing with Fun Factory?
I was their director of sales.
Okay.
So I did global sales for them I worked for them for about 6 years. And they're based in Germany. And then I traveled all over the world with them. It was an awesome experience.
What do you think people don't understand about the sex toy market, selling space? I don't want to say retail, because not the retail, because you're no longer on the floor. You're doing I'm assuming, bigger deals. You're not talking about how to sell a dildo to one person, trying to sell a dildo to a store, right?
Well, it's business to business rather than business.
See, I'm a fake smart person, so I will pretend that I know all those things
but
until
it's all about,
I run into a wall.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second. Well, that's the thing, because every time I tell folks I work with Hot Octopus, or back then with Fun Factory, and because it's always like I think I'm like one of the fun people to invite to a party, like, oh, this is my really interesting friend.
Right. Well, you're in the intersection of business and sexuality, because it's not just because on the floor I think it's more sexuality than the business, and then but no, you're almost like in the corporate sexuality.
It completely nailed it.
I think that's really, the stories I've heard sometimes have been interesting. Like, I don't know, did you read Buzz? by Hallie
all the
Lieberman?
time. Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, remember they had the story about the Hitachi and how that deal even happened to bring it to the States. And I was like, I don't think anyone thinks about how the Hitachi wand got here.
No,
you know?
no. And it was like in the 80s.
Yeah, and they had to bring like the chick she was like the one Asian chick at the company. She brought her mom just to like help add some authenticity. And then like
Shay from Vibertex.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes. So it's a family business and they live in Napa. And yeah, that's how they earn the rights. And now it's not even able to be called Hitachi. They can only call it Magic Wand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hitachi doesn't want an affiliation with the product because it's now, and that's my favorite vibrator. I have an OG Hitachi that plugs in and I'm so afraid that it will die, that I don't use it as often.
If you die, you get to upgrade to the wireless. That should be
I have the wireless too, but it doesn't have the same sensation.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Like side by side. Look, I'm not lying. It's the OG Magic Wand because it's powered by the wall, like the whatever the wattage is intense enough to like blow out your clit for sure.
So what are some of the aspects of, I guess, corporate sexuality? What do we not realize goes into selling sex on a corporate level?
I would say it has to be there's several layers to manufacturing sex toys, right? Mm-hmm. Especially for companies that are considered to be sex positive. And Fun Factory was at the precipice of this body safe movement and luxury products. Like now it's been done. Lulu's done it since I think only now maybe 15 years. Fun Factory's been around since 1996. So they've been around for a long time. So I would say that it's so difficult to bring the messages of sex toys to the masses and have them be comfortable with it. Not only because Fun Factory is a German company and Germans tend to be a little bit more comfortable with not only sexuality, but using sex toys.
Go wear the leather daddy thing to Thanksgiving. They're like,
totally.
They don't have Thanksgiving.
There's a lot more nudity, and the people they're a lot. They're definitely different than the U.S. folks or Canadian folks or whatever country that your listeners.
You'll see tits in a commercial.
Yeah. And you have sex toy companies that advertise on TV on a network like desired time slot where it's like 7 to 8. You'll see a sex toy company advertising. So I think bringing the messages of it's okay to buy a sex toy, and sex toys they don't have to be fleshy, veiny phalluses. They can be fun. They can be okay. They're not going to take away from your partner, or they're not going to take away from they're not going to blow out your nerve endings and in your body parts wherever you're using them, and helping minimize the idea that sex toys are bad. When I worked at Fun Factory, I felt like that was my journey, and that was something that you work with marketing on packaging, you work with on product development, and also on how do we get this message of it's okay to use sex toys to the masses, because it wasn't, and now it is definitely more accepted. And you probably, I know you've been podcasting for a long time. Hopefully you've felt this movement towards, look at CES, that show, the electronics convention in Vegas that banned sex toys and pleasure products for a while because of all sorts of different political reasons, and then brought them back on this year, 2020. And there's all of this stigma and all of this, I think, judgment when it comes to using sex toys. And I felt like that was my journey when I was at Fun Factory, and that we were starting to achieve it. And then moving to Hot Octopus was a shift for sure, because it's penis toys. Penis toys, vulva owners have had access to products for ages, since the Victorian age.
I have a comedy buddy, Mike Cannon. He's past guest of the show, and he had 6 minutes just on the fleshlight. 6 minutes just on pocket pussies. He had a Letterman set worth of jokes just on that, and he was like, you ladies have had stranglehold on the sex toy market for forever. It's our turn now.
It's true though. And now you're finally feeling it. Like you finally, it's still not regular conversation. When I tell dudes, let's say, okay, so let's not be super politically correct here. When I just tell bros, homies, oh, I work with a sex toy company. Oh, really? What kind of sex toy? Male masturbators. Oh, why would I need a male masturbator? I have my hand.
Better.
And I'm like, why do you take a car anywhere when you could walk? You get there more in style and you get there faster, and not necessarily faster, but you get there with a little bit more ease. And you don't have to like burden yourself with a rosy palm. You can actually just use the device. It's 2020.
But I don't think dudes even know that masturbation sleeves exist. You know, like that's just like, that's one of many examples of like male sex toys that, you know, I don't think even people, they don't think about because they don't even think it exists.
Well,
you know,
what
like
about the fact that they look nasty? A lot of the pocket pussies from back in the day, they have like hair, like fake hair. Have you ever seen those things?
I mean, I've also never.
They're gnarly.
I stuck my dick in one of those because they sponsored the show. Like they sent me a free one. This is the Auto Blow 2.
Oh yeah, the what? I know the owner, the founder.
He's
awesome, but definitely Brian.
I was like, you know what? I see the appeal for people who don't get laid much, why this would be awesome. And I was like, I think I need 1 or 2 extra rings to get me, because I like a tight, like for example, on blowjob, I like a tighter blowjob. I don't want to face fuck somebody. It's just like I'm sticking my dick into an abyss. I want like tight suction. So I was like, oh, I think I need this to be tighter. The whole thing, and then it also feels you also have to forget that you're sticking your dick in a thing.
And it also sounds like it
was also very loud. I legitimately put headphones on and played music, so that way I didn't have to.
And that's a thing, because you are focused. When my vibrators are really loud, which the magic wand is loud, I'm really concerned with: is my partner's daughter home? Yeah. Is the neighbor listening? Are the windows open and they can hear when they're going into the coffee shop below my house?
I don't know. I don't know what it is about like a women's vibrator that I like think is so sexy sounding, but the Auto Blow 2 sounded like a fucking machine.
Do you ever use cock rings? Like vibrating cock rings?
I had one. I've lost a charger for it. It was the Jesuit Mio or whatever.
I'm going to give you the Atom, which from Hot Octopus before you leave here today. It's a shaft ring. And if your partner digs vibration on the vulva, so
we'll try when she flies into
Portland. It's really great. It's a little, it can be a little constricting feeling on the shaft. It's not for the shaft and balls. I think that those are the best way for both penis owner, vulva owner to actually enjoy a hands-free experience that feels good for both, because your shaft, your cock becomes a vibrating mass that when you're penetrating, whoever you're penetrating, wherever you're penetrating, feels really great.
Yeah, no, cock rings, I would like to get more into it. Like I said, I had the one I really liked. I just lost
the Jeju one.
Yeah, and what I like,
the Mio.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
It's a good one.
The charger, and it was really expensive, but like, I got it for free at Babeland, and
you're gonna love the Atom. It's incredible. Are you ever into perineum stimulation?
Yeah, it's what the Jesuit, because it had. I don't know. You remember how it had like.
It's Jeju. Don't say Jejuet.
Look, I'm a stupid American.
En français, but they're based in London.
The cock ring.
Yeah. No, I got it. You could say whatever you want, by the way. I wasn't shaming you now. I feel kind of bad.
It's okay.
I do that sometimes with the phonetics and how to pronounce things.
Well, it had like almost like a D shape and then the ring. And so actually, like, because I would almost use it. I enjoyed using it not with the vibrating partner up. Like I used to flip it around over the balls, and then like it would actually be vibrating under the taint. I liked using it that way.
So
which
you
is a little
are
more
into
selfish
that
because then she doesn't get
So I'll give you the Atom Plus, which is for so it actually helps not only kind of constrict blood flow so you can last longer if you want to.
Which is why I even got in. It's why I even looked in the cock rings when I was like 25 in the first place, because I was a little depressed and I was starting to get nervous about my.
How old are you now?
30.
Okay.
I mean, it was a very limited time.
That's awesome that you're 25 and looking at these solutions. Yeah, that's incredible.
Well, I was already doing the show, and I thought I hit a Babeland, and we worked something out, and they gave me like a little instructional in exchange for content, and it was like, I don't know. I think I was just I was 25. I was nervous about my boner for no good reason, because it was like I was 25. Everything's fine.
What were you nervous about?
I was just
like that it wasn't like up to what people would think or expect. It wasn't hard like what 2 or 3 times in a row, and like I panicked because I was 25, and I think dudes, when our boner doesn't work, we think it's supposed to work all the time, so you panic. Really?
When really, like, yeah, sometimes just you're not into a thing. But
people forget that your biggest sex organ is your brain.
The brain, yeah.
It really is, and that's part of when it's Shameless Sex. Whenever we get folks, we have if you could look at my email inbox, like at our email inbox with the questions, almost 80 to 90% of them consist of, am I normal? is this okay? And how can I be
Talk
a better
to my-
lover?
yeah.
Or how can I have better sex?
All the questions can be dumbed down. Like the answers can get dumbed down to like, it's probably not weird. Like there's probably 7 other people who like that. And I don't know, ask your partner. Like that's the answer to most of the questions I get at manwhorepod@gmail.com.
Well, it's like the thing is like asking your partner can be helpful, but it's also helpful.
I mean like more like when they ask the question of like, would my partner this? Does my partner want that? And I'll be like, I don't know. You have to ask them.
Oh, they're asking if their partner would like that.
Right. Basically like
would my partner like anal? You're like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Almost any question I've received, one of those 2 answers of it's fine or ask them. Those are usually the answers ultimately. I find at least.
And that's you're right, because a lot of folks lack the knowledge on how to like communicate or even address needs or desires within their sexuality, because it is a tough conversation to be like, hey, I've had this trauma, or I have this shame, and I really like this, or I really don't want that, and I know you're into it. Those are hard hangups or hard boundaries sometimes to gloss over or to push through, and that's also like keeping the spice, keeping the flavor alive in your sex life. How do you do that, right? Well, it's endless, the possibilities, but it's also endless to want more of that fire.
Yeah. Well, has there been a difficult conversation you and your partner have had to have in your sex?
Fuck yeah.
Well, what's an
Hell
example
yeah.
of that?
So, God, there's been. So my partner, I love making out, kissing, and biologically,
big fan.
Biologically, a lot of vulva owners. And if you look at stats, I'm not going to put exact percentages out right now because I don't have them in my brain. But there's a large majority, and it's above half of humans that are female identified, let's say, that need kissing biologically to start to feel the turn on sensation. And my partner will skip that step a lot and go straight for the clitoral. Yes. And I'll be like, hey, and I'll like check in and be like, hey, can you just kiss me more? Or hey, you're going way too fast. Or there's like this just beeline for the vagina. And I'm like, whoa. Like, hey, can we slow down? So those are conversations, and it's because there's excitement and there's this whole drive to get to this end result, which is what? Orgasm, right? Once the orgasm happens, everyone feels like it's a reward for all of this effort. And it's the pleasure that's I guess the quest that people are looking for. For me, I just enjoy the journey of if orgasm happens, I feel like that's the candle on the cake that I blew out. I'd never go into a sexual experience, even masturbation, expecting it, which when I'm masturbating, it's disappointing sometimes when I can't orgasm. I give up. I'm like, fuck it. I'm over it because I'm in my head too much. I'm like, oh, I have too much going on. So those are some of the conversations that I have had with him before, where I'm like, yo, you gotta make out with me, because that helps me get hot.
Well, when you first started dating, like, was the fact that you were this sex expert, did that cause any strife, or was that intimidating for, like, I mean, did that ever cause any sort of tension that you might know more or something?
No. However, that's a good question, because we live in such a small town. Santa Cruz is super small. And his daughter at the time was 13. And obviously his ex-wife and baby mama of the 13-year-old has a fucking cell phone and has a laptop, and her mom came in and she was listening to an episode of How to Suck a Dick Like a Champ, I think it's called, or something.
From your podcast?
From my podcast. Ooh. And closed it immediately when Mom walked in. Yeah, and that became sort of a challenge. And at the same time, I was like, hey, it's awesome that she wants a resource, or she's curious about this stuff, because this is all stuff that she's going to experience later in life, or maybe, who knows, she's 13. At the time, she was almost 14. She might be experiencing it sooner than later. And so it was a topic of conversation. There was never anxiety.
Her mom did not let any boys over like that month after finding that, because there's only one reason you listen to the specific episode, How to Suck Dick Like a Champion, and it's because there's some like 8th grade boy who wants her to suck his
totally.
penis.
Well, there were girls like sending nudes out, for instance. And
Yeah,
I had a
committing
conversation. I was like,
felonies left
do
and
not
right."
do that. Do not send a nude out. And she was like, I'm not going to. But there were nudes
Yeah.
of 11-year-old, 12-year-old girls. Do not do that. That stuff's never going away. And so.
And like you could get arrested if someone wants to be a dick about it.
Oh, totally. Well, yeah, the legalities, teenagers or
Well, we're getting
pre-teenagers never think of that stuff.
I mean, does the it's one or two? You said
Three,
and are they all vaguely in this like could be sexual age, or just the two of them?
So he
There's
has a 25-year-old,
Okay, so
a
they're all in that
21-year-old,
realm.
and then the
And
15-year-old.
do any of them come to you for advice at this point?
For sexual advice, no. And that's another piece to the whole having a podcast, a sexual, let's call it sexual wellness podcast. You get their friends that know me and their father from my podcast, and they'll tell his daughters like, whoa, I know so much about your dad now because I listen to Shameless Sex. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. And he's comfortable with it. We don't name names on our show. And that's always been something that we've said from the beginning. We don't want to be like, my partner, blah, blah. We're just like, hey, they need some sort of anonymity because of what we're doing. It's sex is taboo and it's hard and it's totally fine. And I obviously it's 2020, as I keep saying, and you can find anyone, you can find their social security and address probably faster than you can find the nearest McDonald's, right?
I just could see someone, especially when it's a the youngest one, it's for lack of a better term, like the stepmom-esque figure or the dad's girlfriend or whatever, however you want to put it. When you know that that's what you do for work, I could totally see going to you to be like, hey, this guy wants to do this or this.
They
that,
don't.
Hey,
I wish they would. And
do you excitedly just like kind of
actually,
like,
you know
when
what?
are they going to ask me?
The oldest one does. The oldest one is now dating someone, and she does. They were all single for a long time, and the oldest one just got into a relationship, and she started to tell me. And if her father's around, she gets like, well, I'll talk to you about this later. I've given them all vibrators, not the 15-year-old, but I've given the two older ones vibrators. And I'm like, here, whatever you want to do, giving them lube. And I'm like, and I don't want to ever force any of my, whatever advice or anything that they maybe don't want to hear, opinions, anything that
you're not thrusting the sexuality upon them.
No. And I don't think that any of us should.
Sure.
Although when I am at parties, if there's a bunch of straight dudes, I'm like, hey, do you know where your prostate is? And they'll usually be like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, do you know where your prostate is? Like, what do you do? And it's always because I love teaching straight men about their prostates. I think that's really fun.
Did you were you teaching him about the prostate? Who's like, oh, honey, I know.
Actually, I have, and he was, I think, pleasantly surprised by what the prostate can actually have as an orgasmic muscle, like how much that can actually be achieved with stimulating the prostate. People don't understand.
Yeah, no, I don't think they'll learn. Look, we had Broad City started normalizing pegging, and then girls started putting ass eating back into the conversation. So
I just talked about ass eating, and with my partner, and on the last podcast that we recorded, because I actually licked ass for the first time in my life, like last week.
I assume his.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all swing.
Yes, his. Because I have been into the idea of doing that, but I'm a germaphobe. Like a weird.
I sort of picked up on that.
Did you?
Yeah, when you were picking hairs off of the mic.
Yeah, sorry, I know, but I still put it on my mouth, so I'm not like that.
I don't care.
I have a weird, some like OCD tendencies.
Do you sometimes feel like this like silent pressure to do and try things that you haven't because you are a sex educator, that you work in this industry, that you have the podcast?
That's a great question too. I like your questions.
All I have are good questions. I have no other skills.
You know what? I've never answered a question like that, and I would tell you, in an honest and transparent way, yes. Sometimes I feel like I'm more vanilla than my listeners, and I'm like, fuck, do I need to do more work? And I'm not a swinger, and I've never have been. I feel like my capacity for sex is vast. I want all of the things, and I want to eat it up.
Within the monogamous relationship?
No, not necessarily. I don't always feel like I would want to be in just with one person forever. I have never felt that way.
Okay.
I'm open to a lot of different experiences and to inviting new ideas about or new pleasure, again, experiences. I can't think of a better word because it would be an experience. Like I will always accept those in. However, the idea of labeling it like I'm a swinger sounds fucked up to me, where I'm like, oh, I'm a swinger. And it would have to be with someone that I don't know within my relationship confines and that I wasn't seeking out. So it would have to happen like in this organic way. And if it's like a friend, like a girlfriend would come in or a guy friend, and it was like this 3-way experience, it would be weird for me because I don't know if I'm like foundationally like stable enough within myself and secure enough to know that I could go back and feel totally comfortable with my friend that I like, you fucked my dude or you fucked me. Like, oh, that's my brain and how it works.
How do you respond to yourself when you're thinking things like, oh, am I more vanilla than my listeners? Or am I not trying enough things to be a sex podcaster or something?
I respond with, I'll go in my own flow and I'll do my own thing. And I'm not going to judge myself. That's not fair. And I feel like I'm a very sexually open human, and I'm really willing to explore. And I also don't want to label myself as being this, like I'm not, really well rehearsed in BDSM. And I've probably been to a lot more crazy parties or sex parties than most people, but I still consider myself to be vanilla because I'm open to hearing about everyone else's experiences. And then I think, wow, that's like way, like my partner is way freakier, if you could imagine.
Oh,
that
I saw him. I can imagine. Yeah,
totally.
He looks like it.
Yeah, he's totally, and he always says that. He's like, it's so funny. But like I love new experiences, and I'll be like, choke me or like tie me up. I love that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't be like, I'm a kink person or I'm into fetishizing being, a slave, or so those are the things that I'm not comfortable with. And I'm never saying no to those things. Never saying like, no, that's never for me. I'm like, right now, I want to get a little bit more like secure in my relationship. It's 2.5 years old. Sure. We're still working at 2 ex-wives and 3 daughters, or a lot of female energy. And so I'm only, divorced since 2016. So there's like things that I have to work through within myself. And I praise all the folks that are listening to Shameless Sex and opening up about their sex life and opening me up to maybe thinking outside of my own brain box. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, April, I'm also looking forward to doing your show.
I know you're going to be on
our
show.
That's going to be great.
Because you're driving up to Portland.
And I'm going to come on back down.
And you'll be at Amy's house at that one.
Fun.
You're at my house now.
Is it also?
How long have we been recording?
That's why I was.
It's over an hour. That's
we just hit an hour.
Oh my god, it's gone so fast.
Yeah, no, we just chit chat. If you didn't have the show that you had to go to, I would have kept going.
I know. I'm supposed to go to Berkeley. I'm like, is it really gonna happen? It's not. Yeah, I don't really want to go.
What's the show?
It's amazing band Dirtwire. Have you ever heard of band Dirtwire? No. Have you ever heard of Beats Antique?
I'm the worst music person, babe. If you're listening, too. My girlfriend's way more in the music. If you know any of this, can you tell me?
It's like gypsy kind of rock music, and I say that because it has like these.
I've heard older, this gypsy rock stuff.
It's cool.
I have heard it.
It's really cool,
I didn't know this
it's
band.
Very. It has like notes of bluegrass and folk, and
it's very Berkeley.
It is very Berkeley, and I've been made a promise for 2020 to hear more music and to go to more shows because I don't do that enough. So that's why. Is it going to happen? Hopefully. I mean, it's like an hour and 45-minute drive right now. And my partner, I was like, I'm going to record the podcast and then figure it out. So.
And then he's like, I'm going to make this big weed deal.
Yeah, right.
I walk in and it's like this monstrous. And you let me know if I have to take that. This monstrous bag of weed.
Yeah, we should probably not
on
say
the
that.
kitchen counter.
Actually, we could say that Santa Cruz Roots is his brand.
Check
They're
out
awesome.
Santa Cruz Roots.
Yeah, Santa Cruz Roots.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Show notes, Santa Cruz Roots. So thank you for having. I can't wait for you to be on our show. Thank you for all of it, like your openness and bringing sex positivity to. I think a lot of folks that identify as men need to know that they are normal too, and to have a quest for the inner sex positivity that we all should long for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, until they hear me on your show, where can they find you?
So shamelesssex.com. That's our website, obviously. We are on all of the podcast apps. I mean, there are so many now. I mean, from Luminary to Pandora to Spotify to iTunes to Google Play, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find Shameless Sex. And if you follow us at Shameless Sex Podcast on Instagram, we do tons of contests. I mean, almost one every month or bi-monthly.
She's giving away sex toys all the time. She's like, I'll give you a sex toy. Hey, a partner's daughters.
And you get one.
You get a toy. Yeah.
We really do. We love, and we're doing a lot of really interesting things for Valentine's Day. I don't know when this is airing. We're doing not only sex toys, but massages, and it's all not, they're not like weird massages. They're consensual, actual muscle massages to help your body, and CBD giveaways, and a lot of different products.
Basically, if you want to get free
box.
shit, go follow Shameless Sex Podcast on Instagram. Because
Have you heard of Clone a Willy or Clone a Pussy?
Yeah, we've given away Clone a Willies
Those
on here
are
before.
so cool.
Yeah.
Those are we do stuff with them.
I just haven't made it yet.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I mean, that's like that's where you can find us. I mean, that's probably the best way to find us. Facebook is, I feel like Facebook's going out. What do you think?
I think it depends. I think in our industry, Facebook's very rough because there's a lot of baggage,
censorship too, right?
Sexuality stuff, or God forbid you exist as a woman, stuff like that, the pesky things like gender, that they're just like bumping it down. Like it's very difficult for me to advertise a live podcast I might do.
Totally. YouTube's getting that way as well.
Yeah. So I have the Facebook page. We have the Man Whore Podcast Facebook page. We just use it for like a lot of fun memes, articles, and like updates. Yeah. And every once in a while, if I have a really good orgy joke that did well on Twitter, I'll cross.
I like that. I like good orgy jokes. I know we don't do shit with our Facebook, so we are not on Twitter really either. I mean, Twitter's hard. It's like, hey, here I am, blah blah blah. I don't know.
I'm a words guy. That's why I love.
So you love Twitter?
Yeah. So like Instagram's the thing. I have to learn how to do the visual medium. But like right now, I'm just like learning how to take more thirst traps. So I'm just trying to like test it out there.
I appreciate people that are words people that can just.
I am a comedian. It's like
I know,
literally the only thing
completely.
I should be able to do.
Yeah, you're like, I can't do the visual. I like the what is it like? Wording it out. There's a word for it. What is it?
I want to watch you try to find it.
Damn it. Yeah, it sounds like two words. No, 2 syllables. I'll think of it and we'll come back to it.
ShamelessSexPodcast.com. Shameless Sex Podcast. Go find it. And April, why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
I can't wait to have you on our show, Man Whore. Love that name. And to all you fabulous Man Whore listeners out there, I love you. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. Ciao for now.
Woo! I think I owe y'all a follow up with April. I have so much more I could ask her and kind of probe her on. So, we're going to have to hear from her again at some point. Again, go follow her on the socials and go check out the Shameless Sex Podcast. If you need an episode to start with mine. We had a blast. We talked about, sex parties and such. Of course, you should be following me on social media. Honestly, I recognize some of your names when you follow me on Instagram, and I go like, it's been like almost 6 years. You're starting to follow me now? What's going on? But hey, I get it. A lot of you think you're following me on Insta, but remember, my Instagram got taken away. So go just double check that you're following me. Go check out at Billy is Presida on the gram. I'm still at the Billy Presida on Twitter. And you should also go like the Man Whore Podcast Facebook page. For this month, all the way up until the NCAA Finals Championship, we are doing a Man Whore March Madness bracket. Every day, there's a poll going on one of my social media channels trying to determine what is and was, so far, the best Man Whore Podcast episode. I have seeded what I deem to be the top 64 episodes that have come out over the years, and I'm leaving it to you to help me figure out which one's the best. So every day, go check my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook fan page. Participate, let your voice be heard. Consider it like you're practicing voting for November, because you should all be registered to vote for November. It's important. And so is my silly slut bracket. And one more thing, everybody. We are trying to reach a really awesome milestone. It's 6 years of Man Whore Podcast next month. Our anniversary is April 16th, 2020. And I want to celebrate by growing the Fan Whore community on Patreon to 600 members by April 16th. And hey, don't feel bad if you need to cancel your membership on April 17th. Right now, I just want to see if we can have at least 600 members on my 6-year anniversary. You think we can do it? I do. I want you to join us. We're over a third of the way there. So again, go to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And once we're in April, go ahead, throw that $2 down and watch that patron count rise. I know we can do it. And it would mean the fucking world to me for all this hard work that I put in for you week in and week out. I love doing it. But I also would love to see that nice big 600 number. I hope you'll help us reach it. I hope you'll join the community and make some new friends. Next week, we've got porn star Brooklyn Chase, everybody. Oh, she was a delight. If you're feeling sick, if you got a little bit of a fever, stay home. But you can still stay slutty.
Hello, my name's Andrew, and I'm a listener from over in the UK. I joined the Patreon community 2 years ago. I joined because I spend a lot of time in my car for work, and I was enjoying the main pod so much that I wanted access to all the bonus episodes. The bonus episodes really are great. Billy does put a lot of time and effort into them, and they help pass some of my time commuting. I've also reached out to Billy a couple of times over the years, and he's always been a great guy, offering to help and take time, and offer advice where he can. I really am happy to be a member of the Patreon community. The Facebook group is great. Lots of like-minded individuals offering advice. If you can, I would recommend joining the community. It really is worth it. Just give it a go. Thanks. Bye.